Hey, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to all my cloud scholars out there. I want to thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Kieran Tross. In today's video, I'm going to be helping those individuals, well, two people I'm helping out here, two groups of individuals. Number one, if you are going for your SC-401, this video is going to help you understand the stuff that you need to learn in order for you to pass the test, the different technologies. Data lifecycle management is definitely mentioned in the SC-401. That is a newer certification. I recently obtained mine a couple weeks back. And also this is for anybody who is trying to just do some retention policies within their environment. So this video is going to be focused on retention policies and adaptive scopes. I'm going to go through different ways of setting up these policies to help you govern data retention across your M365 ecosystem, as well as AI. So everyone's talking about AI so much. So it's really important for us to understand how we are able to now capture that information. And then, with you being able to pull in the information from prompts, and honestly, it's relatively easy, right? Once you have audited on, it just works. But there are some caveats. So if you are trying to now see stuff from third-party agents, you have to now do some more stuff, such as, onboard your machines to Purview. You also have to have extensions in there for, Chrome, as well as for Firefox, right? So I'm not going to get into that too much, but I really want to talk to you about how you can now do data lifecycle management and also be able to see those prompts so that you can meet your regulatory compliance. So just in case anybody doesn't know, data lifecycle management. So data lifecycle management is the controls that you put in place in order for your company to meet regulatory compliance. So that's things like how long are you keeping that data? If once you have meet that threshold, do you want to keep it forever, or do you want to, delete the data? Now, some people might say, well, why are you going ahead and deleting the data? Well, one of the reasons why is because you're reducing risk as well as reducing legal implications. I worked for one company, many moons ago, and they were like, hey, after 6 months, delete everything, because they had a lot of litigation going towards them. So that is some ways that companies do handle business, is to make sure that if you don't have the data, then you don't have to provide it to the lawyers. You're not lying, right? So what type of data can data lifecycle manage, right? So it can manage pretty much anything, right? So you have the Microsoft 365 workloads, you have Exchange, SharePoint sites and docs, OneDrive files, Microsoft Teams, and also AI. So just in case anybody's wondering, I am not going to PowerPoint you to death. This is going to be a few slides just to kind of talk through, just to help those out who are going for the SC-401, as well as those who are just here for, the practical learning. So retention policies, I do want to get into retention policy. Retention policies are what you would use to apply to different areas within your environment. So that would be like your SharePoint sites. That would be for, OneDrive, Teams locations, so on and so forth. That is how you would utilize retention policies. But you also have retention labels. Now, I don't want you getting confused with this. Retention labels are applied at the item level, so they're more granular control. So for instance, if you are using a retention policy in your environment, that can go to a SharePoint site. But if the document leaves that SharePoint site and goes somewhere else, then guess what? That retention isn't really there anymore, because that document is no longer. So that's why you would now do like a retention label, because you want that to travel with the document. And there are Microsoft docs that talk about, different activities that can happen with your document, such as when it gets edited or when it gets deleted, and then which one and how things get ironed out in terms of, how long it gets retained, right? So let's go through some scenarios, because it'll probably help, drive my point a little bit more. So scenario one, you use a retention policy. So you want all Copilot prompts and responses to be retained for 90 days for investigations, but deleted after that to reduce risk and storage. So Copilot AI interactions are high volume. Users should not choose how long prompts are kept, and you also want to be consistent behavior across the tenant. So that's one of the reasons why you would use a retention policy for your Copilot prompts. Now, This is when you would use a retention label. Your legal team needs final signed contracts retained for 7 years, but draft contracts only for 1 year. So you're going to do a retention label because retention depends on what the document is, and then also retention must change based on document state. So let's say December 1st, you have a document and you're like, okay, listen, I'm going to apply this retention label to it. But then as the document matures by December 15th, you're like, all right, we need to change this label for our document because our document maturity has grown and it's more significant for us. So instead of it being for 1 year, we now need to put up to 3 years, 5 years, or whatever you dictate, right? And then finally, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, which is the rule must travel with the file if it's moved or shared, right? So legal requires defensible lifecycle control. So then we have another one where we have another scenario, which is use retention policies for AI prompts. So if a customer came to me and said, hey, why don't we just use a retention label for AI prompts? You know, reading through the documentation, it seems like you can do that. I'll be completely frank with you. To me, it just makes more sense to do a retention policy. And as you can see here, it says Copilot prompts are not documents. And plus, there's going to be a lot of prompts. You know, I use Copilot, I use ChatGPT throughout the day. I also read through the documentation as well, but sometimes you might want to find out what it is and then also say, hey, give me a reference link so I can now make sure that you're not giving me anything incorrect, because AI says stuff that's incorrect, but not everyone is like that. Some people just go based on what AI says and they will just, you know, keep putting in prompts and then make their life easier, which we're all trying to do that. Not saying anything wrong. What I'm saying is it's going to be a high volume of data. So that is probably one of the reasons why you want to use retention policies. Okay, so if you can please go to purview.microsoft.com. I think I'm done talking through the old PowerPoint slides. When I do need to point out something, I will bring one back up. But I wanted you to go into the solutions, and I want to go into data lifecycle management. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of policies, right? So that is our mission for this video. And we're going to go to retention policies, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to have more videos. Part 2, I'm going to talk about labels and show you how to do that. And then we're going to get into Exchange and how that works in terms of your mailboxes and retaining that data as well. So this way you have a full understanding of data lifecycle management. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to create our first retention policy. So we're going to create 3 policies. So one policy is going to be around Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive, and we're going to, you know, focus our policy around the doctors, right? Second policy we're going to do is going to be retaining AI prompts. So it's going to have one specifically around AI, and I'll show you exactly why I'm doing it that way, because Microsoft kind of forces you to do it that way. And then the third policy is going to be one where you're going to have an adaptive scope, and I'll explain adaptive scopes a little bit later. Okay, so now we are going to create our first retention policy. And what we're going to call this one is, I don't know, we'll call it Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Doctors, Drive. All right, so this is targeting our Exchange, SharePoint, and it's for our physicians, right? So this is for our doctors, and I'm going to click next. We're not going to worry about administrative units. If you don't know what administrative units are, think of administrative units as a way for you to parse out your environment, right? So you're going to have different partitions in your environment. So let's say you are in the United States, and you have staff all over the place. There's employees. You have your IT staff all over your help desk, but you don't want to give them too much privileges. So what you can do is you can have administrative units for West Coast, and you have administrative units for East Coast. So now your team that resides in the West Coast, because they gotta, you know, they're working on that time zone, they're going to be able to manage users on the West Coast. And then users on the East Coast, you're going to have a team for those. So you would have 2 administrative units, East Coast and West Coast. So think of it that way. All right, so what we're going to focus now is we're going to go to static, right? So I'm going to talk about adaptive a little bit later, but we're going to go to static for our retention policy that we're creating. Now, What did I mention? We're going to focus on a couple areas. We're going to go to Exchange. We want SharePoint. We also want OneDrive, and we could take this one off right now. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're doing a policy for, Copilot by itself, AI interactions alone, because if you see, I have this checked off, but as soon as I go down here and I click on that one, they all come off. Now, if I click on any of these, let's see what happens. I can do other AI apps well. So, they really want you to kind of, do stuff a little bit by itself because it's not allowing you to. So if I hit this one, it's off. If I hit OneDrive, it still stays on. If I come back here to other apps, it comes off. So they don't all play nice with each other. So you have Exchange, Mailbox, SharePoint, and OneDrive. Now I can do this and scope it out to everybody, but I really don't need to. I really need only certain users because I have certain physicians, but then I also have certain people who do other things as well. And I don't need to retain all that information because that's going to cost me more money. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to choose my users. So I already know that my users are all doctors. So I'm going to take Dr. Green, red, and blue. And then over here for my SharePoint site, I need to look at my SharePoint site that I need to pull up. So I'm going to go figure out what SharePoint site it is, and I'll come right back. Okay, so I am in my SharePoint Admin Center. I have my patient record site. I copy this over. So I'm just going to copy link address. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to go to edit sites. Instead of all sites, I'm going to edit and I'm just going to plug that in there. And then now that one pops up. So now I have my SharePoint site that I want and I'm focused on. Then when it comes to OneDrive, I need to come in here and I need to edit this as well.